I survived Las Vegas. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek Deep Thoughts Thing Coach with me, Phil the Glacial Geek. Today, I am going to be working on priming up some non-Dark Angels models, and actually maybe priming up him. He's a kit bashed, I guess, master and or lieutenant, depending upon what I want to use him for, but mostly master with a jump pack that I had. I took a regular guy and did and worked with that. I forgot to do the click, whatever. So you got him. Probably maybe prime up those parts, but I'm mostly going to be working on priming up another rock grinder slash Goliath truck. So that's the plan for what I'm going to be doing for model wise, since we're back at it here, coming back from the LVO, which brings me to today's topic, which is the LVO, a recap of my weekend there, the tournament, and everything that went along with it. I had a complete and utter blast at the LVO. There were met a ton of awesome people, including a bunch of you guys, which was awesome. I was really liked you guys coming up and meeting up with me, saying hi, shaking my hand, saying some really nice things, and I really appreciate that. It really puts it into stark contrast, kind of how much you guys really appreciate what it is that I do, and I really do appreciate that. It makes me feel good that maybe I'm not just like blowing into the wind with all this. So I appreciate that. It was a fantastic getting to see you all, take some selfies. I even sent an autograph, which was awesome. So I had a blast. I had a really great time the whole weekend. So for the tournament, I ended up finishing 117th out of like 500 something players there. Which was fantastic, which is better than I even thought that I could have done. So it was it was a really great time. I went 4-2, and every single one of my games in the 40K championship was an awesome game. I played against some really fantastic people, didn't run into any jerks, which was awesome. Everyone took it seriously. Everyone was trying to win, which is how it goes, and you have, anytime you play a game, especially in a tournament, you're going to have those moments where you're sitting there contemplating things, and that one die roll that you needed to happen doesn't go right, and you just get frustrated, and you can tell when you're frustrated at just the very specific situation that's going on there, or your opponent. And I never had anyone that was getting salty with me, which was awesome. It was always just a really good time I had with everybody, which was great. And I did, like I said, I did better than I expected to with those results. Actually, at the end of it all, in the final ITC standings, I ended up 209th out of 7,018 people in the world, which was awesome. So I feel pretty good about that. Top 5% at that point, right? It's close to it, a little more maybe. Top 5%, which is, I'll take that any day of the week. That was awesome. I feel like it was a pretty good season of ITC, and I feel like I could get better, even better going into this next season, depending upon where I could get to and what tournaments I can manage to sneak myself into. So it was a great time, had a blast. I ended up as the 7th Dark Angels player, top 7 Dark Angel player in ITC for the final rankings for 2017, which was awesome. And it was just I just had a really fun time. The going to the LVO for the weekend was an incredible experience. You're sitting there with thousands of other war gamers who were there for all sorts of different games. So the biggest tournament by far was the Warhammer 40K championships, but they also had Age of Sigmar. They had team tournaments. I had a couple friends that were in the Infinity tournaments, and they had a blast with that as well. There was War Machine. There were all sorts of things going on. There was demo games going on. They had painting classes and painting competitions going on. It was incredible just to walk around and see the wide variety of different games and different wargaming situations and wargaming events happening, all kind of climbing around the fact that we're just super nerds having a lot of fun with our little plastic toys, which was awesome. So everyone seemed to be having a great time, and it really was a fantastic time. And Frontline Gaming put on a great event. A great event and it was a lot of fun, and you're walking around and you even see it like after the tournaments, or when you're just walking around at the casino there, or when you're walking around outside going to get some food on the strip or something like that, and you see all of the nerds walking around too. It was kind of cool to see all of that, and in the mornings when everyone's coming down with their armies on their trays, you could see the looks on some of the other guest faces as they're like, where am I? What's going on here? Not quite the same. We were competing. There was another convention in town while we were there. What was it? It was like Concrete World or something, World Concrete Convention or something like that. So I'm sure that was a slightly different convention than the one that we were at. But it was a lot of fun. It was a great time. So kind of going over the tournament that I had. The first game that I played, I went up against Necrons, which was I was actually surprised. I didn't expect to see many Necrons. I don't think there were an excessive amount of Necrons there, but I happened to run up against one of them, which was kind of cool. Guy was a ton of fun. Had a blast. We played. Like I said, he had a bunch of wraiths. Was the majority of his list. He had a bunch of wraiths. He had a couple. He had a master. He had a couple cryptex, and then he had a bunch of warriors. And it was a good list. It was a strong list. My first turn, I actually didn't kill anything, which I went first. So not killing anything that first turn, I was I was a little bit worried, about that going forward with that, but. It felt it was all right. I think I did pretty decently, considering. I ended up pulling out the victory at the end because essentially what I did was I held back and I let him come at me, because that's what his army was. They're really fast, those wraiths, and they're trying to get into close combat. So if I held back, I knew I could just shoot my way through them. And once they got into close combat, Azrael stepped in and just was a beast in combat. You're just wailing through those guys, which was awesome. It's fun to see Azrael do things like that, like when he finally really starts to get involved in stuff, and that sword of his is surprisingly damaging. with the mortal wounds that he gives out on sixes, and with all of the D3 wounds that he's giving at strength 6. Yeah, he's a beast in close combat. So I'm not really afraid of getting him in combat, which is I think a good and a bad thing, because I should probably be a little bit more afraid of getting him in combat since he's my warlord and a kind of a strong linchpin of how the rest of my army goes. But he proved himself pretty well against the race. We managed to pull out a victory. Like I said, it was a close one, but it was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun, really great time, and a great way to start off the tournament with a great opponent, a great game, and just and a win was always nice to start off the tournament with. So then we went on to turn two. Round two, I should say, not turn two. Round two, I faced off against Tyranids, and a really strong list too. It had 5 flying hive tyrants. He had a hive tyrant on the ground. He had 2 squads of 15 gene stealers. Had a bunch of termagants. Had a neurothrope, a venonthrope, and some hive guard. And I knew it was going to be a tough match. I knew that the hive guard were just going to start wailing into me from across the board, because they don't need line of sight, and they've got some really, really strong DECA. So I knew that I needed to kind of handle them, and I wasn't sure how I was going to handle all of the hive tyrants and things like that. So going off, my opponent went first, and then, man, one of the most brutal situations, and kind of a good way to show how my list operates, happened. So he's going first, and he starts moving up against me, and then he starts shooting at my Hellblasters with his flying hive tyrants, and start killing a few of them. But as they start dying, I start making my 4-up banner rolls, so I start getting to shoot with them. And then I'm supercharging with them because, I mean, they're dead at that point, so who cares? And I start shooting into a flying hive tyrant of his. I end up killing a flying hive tyrant on his first turn before it's even my turn to go, which was, like I said, it was super brutal, and exactly what my list was designed to do. If you're shooting at me, I'm gonna hopefully get to shoot you back, which is exactly what happened. So he couldn't make. Fortunately, he failed a bunch of 4-up invul saves, and in so doing, I was able to kill one of his flying hive tyrants before it was even my turn to go, which was pretty impressive, I thought, for my list to pull off. It was pretty good. 2 damage and enough 2 damage guys, and you're getting on rapid fire range at 15 inches because he had moved up the board to try to kill me, and it was enough to really do a number. So that was pretty cool. And then again, like I said, things kind of started to flow my way after that, and I managed to pull out a victory there as well. Fantastic opponent, had a ton of fun. He got a little frustrated with his dice, understandably. I mean, I was there sitting there watching it, but he made sure to keep letting me know. He's like, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at this. I'm just, at the dice. And I was like, I completely understand. And that kind of communication, I think, is key in the tournament situation, because nerves are up, your anxiety's up, you're feeling amped. You're at you're turned up to 11 at these tournaments, really wanting to do well, really wanting your army to do well. Especially in the early rounds, especially if you get like that first win, because you're like, well, who knows? You dream the impossible dream of going undefeated and ending up at the top tables for the tournament. The reality is it's probably not going to happen for most people. I mean, it doesn't happen for most people there. They had 8. The second day was only the top 8 people out of a field of almost 500. So most people aren't going to be in the top tables, but you still dream it. You know what I mean? Even if you don't have any real expectations, even if you're not going in as like a top player in ITC, you're not going in there as with a highly crafted list. You still want to do well. You still want to win, and after that first win, you're still feeling it. So, but the communication was what was key. As long as you're talking with your opponent, as long as you're letting your opponent know throughout the whole thing that this isn't you, this is, it's just, feeling anxious, feeling like I want to win it, and you get it, and that's understandable. You don't yell at your opponent, you don't get mad at your opponent's rolls. It's sort of like the woos. You know what I mean? We don't woo our opponent's rolls. You don't get frustrated with your opponent's rolls. If your opponent rolls well, your opponent rolls well. You know what I mean? And that's great. You have to be happy for them for having rolled well, because you would hope that they would be happy for you if you rolled well. So they are, so that was a really fun game, really fun match, really nice guy, and we had a blast, had a good time, and like I said, I pulled out the win. So then I started off 2-0 at the tournament, which was awesome. It felt good because, I'm not gonna lie, there's part of me that was like, I don't want to end up going there, and I was afraid that I was going to end up like 0-6 for the weekend, just because you always worry about the worst. So I thought I was going to end up going 0-6, and didn't. So, and luckily, I'm glad I won that first game, because that helped settle my nerves a bit. Thursday night, I was a mess, man. Didn't sleep well. I was amped up. I kept waking up every like half hour, afraid that I was going to miss my alarm to get down there for the tournament. And I didn't, obviously. So, so yeah, it was a good time. It was a blast, and just had a really good time. So then on to turn 3. At this point, there was a bit of a break. Not really supposed to be a break, but it was a little late starting the first round, so we pushed back a bit. And then after the second round, there was a technical error. One of the computer. I guess what happened was there was a mistake with some of the code. Some of the stuff got messed up. So someone thought they were in a different version. They have like a backup version. They thought they were in like the test version of the results page, and he reset it, which unfortunately reset all of the second round. And because a lot of the scores were pretty similar, it actually reset a lot of the pairings. So we all had to go up and manually enter in our scores from turn 2 and get it all set up so that we could get ready. So there was about an hour and a half unexpected break there towards the end. And I had missed lunch because I had been amped up, and I was like, you know what, I'll just deal with this. I'm just going to keep trucking along. So I missed lunch, and unfortunately, that hour and a half, by the end of round 3, man, I was delirious. I was like stumbling along, and I just went to go get something to eat, and then ended up going upstairs to the room and just passing out. But finally, after all that break, we ended up going to round 3, and I ended up playing a guy who finished really well last year's LVO. I didn't manage to see what he did this year's, but he had an Eldar Yunari list that was really, really good, and he played it superbly and just like stomped me. Ended up beating me pretty hard. I think it was like 36-13 or something like that, and he tabled me at the end of on turn 4 or 5 or something like that. So it was it was a pretty big drubbing. I lost pretty hard, but I still had a good time. He was a great opponent. Communication was great, and again, I feel like that's the key, is communication. That was what happened with every single one of my opponents. Communication was very open. We always described exactly what our armies were doing at any point in time, so that our opponents didn't have any questions. We were quick to answer any questions, show things in our books, do whatever is necessary to make sure that that everyone knew what was going on, so no one felt like they were, no one felt like they were unaware of what would happen. No one felt like they were getting gotcha'd. It was a very open discourse, and it made for really good games. And that's honestly, I think that's why I had such a great time. Was every single one of my opponents was really open, was very good at communicating what was happening with their army, what was happening with their lists, what was happening at any point in time with any of the weapons. It made for a very good event. Made for a lot of fun, a very good time. And I gotta say, I had a great time. I really did. And my opponents were really great. So after day 1 there, we're looking at me now sitting at 2-1, which is pretty good. At the end of round 3 there, I actually had Pablo from Frontline Gaming come up to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in being on the stream tomorrow?" And I was like, yes. I was like, it was absolutely no doubt that I wanted to be on the stream. So he's like, all right, well, talk to me tomorrow. We'll see who your opponents are. We'll go from there. So we come into day 2. At this point, I'm 2-1. I got much better sleep than that night before. I come down there, and I realize I'm playing against another Eldar list. So talking to Pablo, they put me on the Warhammer, not the Warhammer stream. They put me on their Frontline Gaming stream. So our game was being streamed on the table there. The Dave and Dave, the two guys who were the announcers for them, were hilarious and super nice guys, and I had a ton of fun doing that. My opponent was a really good guy, really fun guy, and actually the reason we were on there was actually because a bunch of you guys were on their stream telling them they wanted to see the Glacial Geek on there. The Mariana, the woman who was in charge of their streaming, was telling me that she was like, yeah, we're sitting there and the chat's like, put on the Glacial Geek, and she's like, who's the Glacial Geek? I've got to get this guy out here. So she asked Paulo, she's like, do you know where the Glacial Geek is? The chat want him on there. And he was like, I'll find him. So thank you guys for getting me on the stream. I really appreciate that. I was hoping to be on the stream. I thought that would be super awesome, and then it happened because of you guys. So thank you. Cheers for that one. So I go up there for the day 2. I go onto the stream. I'm playing against Eldar. And I win the first to go first, and then my opponent seizes on me. And it was an uphill battle, but it was such a close game. At the end of it, my opponent won by 2 points. And those 2 points easily could have been made up because I was in close combat with his Farseer, who is his warlord. And if I'd managed to kill his Farseer, I would have gotten Kingslayer for Old School, which is one of the secondaries. We're playing the ITC Champions missions, And then I would have also had one more point for Kingslayer because I named him for Kingslayer. And if I had gotten those points, it would have been a tie game. And it was so close. It was so close. It came down to one last wound on his Farseer. And he spent 2 command points to intercede with his Farseer and managed to kill one of my Reavers before they got to attack, and that could have been the difference. I mean, maybe not have, considering how you all know how I roll, but it could have made the difference. So that was some very smart tactics on his part to make sure he could get him out there, and it was, it was good. It was a ton of fun. Had a blast. Being on the stream was a ton of fun. They've actually got the stream, the recording of it on their Twitch channel, so head on over to twitch.tv/frontlinegaming_TV and look for day 2. And I'm the very first game on day 2, so they've got the full day 2 lineup there. It's like 9 hours long, but I'm the first game there if you want to take a look at it. At the end of it, they did an interview with me just talking about the game, so that was a ton of fun. I had a blast. I really had a blast. My opponent was fun. Being on the stream was fun, and it was a really good time. But so at this point, I'm 2-2. Lost my 2 games to Eldar and beat Necrons and Nids. So going on to turn onto round 5 at this point. So on to round 5, and I'm facing off against an Astra Militarum list. And it was a brutal list. It was super well designed, really good. It had 3 Basilisks. It had 2 Manticores. He had 3 different Leman Russ tank variants. He had 3 Scout Sentinels. He had brought a brigade, which was awesome, and had a bunch of different guys. So I start playing against him. We're going, it's Hammer and Anvil. So he's really far back, which is really beneficial to him and his artillery there. And we just start fighting. So we start going against each other. It was a super close match. He just kept blowing away all of my Hellblasters with his artillery and his Manticores. I'm going to have nightmares of Manticore missiles flying through the ceilings of wherever I am, killing me. He managed to kill every single one of my Hellblasters before they could fire a single shot. It was impressive. It was super impressive. That's the first time I've ever seen that happen. Because I was running up the board, and there was a building in the middle, so I was running up through the building, and that would cover me from fire against everything except for all of those artillery pieces that didn't need line of sight. So he was able to kill off all of those guys before I could even shoot with them, which was brutal. But I managed to pop a bunch of things with my las cannons, which was good. I also got my Dark Talon up the board. He did really well, clearing away a bunch of dude bros, a bunch of the regular troopers. And he also was really good at managing to get my my Reavers into combat to try to tie up some of his units so that they couldn't shoot me again. So that worked really well. My Reavers with the bolt with the bolt carbines actually did a fantastic job, and I was really happy with how they performed. They did kind of pretty much everything I'd hoped they would do. They dropped in. They managed to shoot a bunch of guys, which was really good against guard, especially because strength 4 is an AP 0 is fine against guard. It does really well. You're wounding on 3s. They've only got a 5-up save. So it did a really good job for me. I was really happy with how they performed. I don't think I ended up killing. I may have ended up killing every single one of his infantry guys and tying up a bunch of stuff. I managed to get up there and kill his warlord in combat with my Talon Master. He was really good. He shot up the board and right into the thick of things, and managed to get into close combat there and kill off his warlord in close combat with the Heavenfall Blade, which was super cool. Really happy how that performed. And the rest of it kind of went the way I'd hoped they would, but I was sitting there just getting destroyed with his artillery. But then at the end of turn 4, his Manticores no longer could shoot me, which was pretty good. And we played out. I think we managed to get to the end of turn 5. I think we ended up finishing on turn 5. And I managed to squeak out a victory on points. I think it was like, one or 2 points, maybe 2 points. Squeaked out a victory with 2 points, by 2 points, and all I had left on the board was a lieutenant sitting next to my Mortis Pattern Dreadnought back on my end of the table. That's all I had left, and I managed to pull out the victory there, which was pretty awesome. Survived it, which was great, and had a great time. My opponent was super fun, super nice, and again had a really good time and a really close game. I mean, really close games. I had a bunch of really close games. They were really crazy. Had a ton of fun though, and just a really good time. So managed to pull off that victory, like I said. So now all of a sudden I am sitting at 3-2, going into round 6. Round 6, I run into another Space Marine army list. This guy, he was running he was running Dark Angels, Salamanders, and then a mix with a bunch of assassins with Mephiston. So the game was brutal, super close, super brutal. I managed to get kill off a bunch of his characters about before he managed to just get into my lines and really start wrecking havoc against my Hellblasters. So he did a really good job of situating himself so it became hard for me to respond to certain situations. And he made it really good so that he could get where he needed to. But placing my scouts where I needed them on objectives and then using my Reavers to jump on other objectives allowed me to go through the game, and I ended up winning by 1 point. We fought through the last turn 4 or 5, the last one that we managed to get in, and it was super close, but I managed to pull out the victory by 1 point, and ended up the tournament at 4-2, which was awesome. That was honestly, that's better than I honestly could have hoped to do the tournament. I guess not hoped. I'd hoped I was going to go 9-0 and bring home the big trophy, but in reality, going 4-2 was awesome. It was a ton of fun, really great, awesome people, and it was just a really great experience. Super fun, it was chill. I mean, there were a lot of people that were taking it seriously. You were supposed to take it seriously, but it still seemed pretty relaxed. Everyone was having fun, and it was just great looking around the room. The first time I walked into that ballroom with all those tables there, it was just mind blowing. Just looking out and seeing how many different tables there were going on there. You know, you're talking about there was probably close to 300 tables set up in this room for Warhammer. It was awesome seeing all the tables for Age of Sigmar and 40K together in that room. It was mind blowing to see all those tables. And then when the actual tournament started happening and everyone was getting around there, it became even more mind blowing because you just see that kind of collection of nerds all in one place doing this game that we all love. It was awesome, and it was a blast to be there with all of it going on. Got to go around, look at the vendors, meet a bunch of people. I met a bunch of people, other YouTubers, which was great. I met Lawrence and the Beard from Tabletop Tactics. I saw Dave and Quirk again from Mini Wargaming. It was always nice to see them. I met the guys, finally got to meet the guys face to face from FNP Wargamers, which was awesome. It was a ton of fun. Got to meet a bunch of the guys from the Warhammer community. It was great. Every single person was super nice, super fun, and it was a great experience, and left me. It was a reaffirming moment getting to go and do all that and see all of these people doing this hobby that we love, having fun with it, and having a great time, and trying to win and being competitive. You know what I mean? And it showed that. Pardon me, I got a little bit of the con crud. It went to show that you can be competitive and still have a great time and still be a good community. We really were. It was fantastic to see it all and meet some people. Like I said, I got to meet a bunch of you guys, which was awesome. I really appreciated that, getting to shake hands, take pictures, and just get to see you and say hi. I really appreciate it. I know I was trying to do a meet and greet, but man, those tournaments, they kicked the crap out of me. After Saturday's tournament, I met up with my friends that I was rooming with, and we went out. We bought the giant slushy things. Went back to the room, and we ended up playing a board game. It's a Infinity board game that they just came out called Arastia, which is a ton of fun. I highly recommend it to anybody out there. It's based in the same universe as their Infinity board game, as the Infinity miniature games, and their role-playing game that they just came out with, and it was a ton of fun. We had a really great time. You have there's like 8. The starter set comes with 8 different characters that all have their own deck of actions that they can do. They've got their own things that they've got their own stats, and basically you draft off of them. So you have a team of 4 and 4. So you go back and forth. One person chooses a character, the next person chooses a character, and so on and so forth as you go back and forth. And it creates. It's just a ton of fun. It really was a blast, and we played that until like 1:30 in the morning, and then we chatted until like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I apologize for not managing to get like an official meet and greet, but I'm glad I got to meet and greet a bunch of you guys there at the tournament. So going forward, I don't know, a bunch of people said that they didn't come up and say hi. Say hi, seriously, come up and say hi. I really like it. If I'm in the middle of a game, I might have to make it quick, but I will still say hi, shake your hand, and then continue with it. But especially if it's towards the end of a round, maybe if it's towards the end of the round, wait until the end of the round, just because trying to get things in. But if you just see me walking around and I'm looking like, I've got my finger up my nose and I'm just not doing anything, seriously, come up and say hi. You're not going to bug me. I really appreciate it. Me and my friends got a kick out of all the people coming up and recognizing me. So I really appreciate that, really like that, and had a ton of fun. It really was a great time. Really, really energizing. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it just reinforced the fact that I've got I've been bit by the GT bug pretty hard, so it's super exciting. So that is kind of been what my experience at LVO was. It was a ton of fun. Learned a lot of things. In the GT, I beat every single opponent that wasn't Eldar. So I'm a little bit, I'm kind of going back to the drawing board a little bit, not completely. I've got to tweak my list and try to figure out what I can do and what I can change and what I can bring, just to answer how to answer the Dark Reapers. That was really what kicked my butt. There were Shining Spears a little bit that were tough to deal with, but honestly, it was the Dark Reapers that just destroyed me. So going back to the drawing board, trying to figure out a way to answer them, and if I can find that out, I feel like I've got a pretty decent chance. I really am happy with how my list performed. Like I said, it performed really well. Had a great time. Now it's just a matter of tweaking it and fine tuning it. So I've got an ATC team, which is awesome. Going to be doing that. Which is going to be fun in July. Also looking at possibly going to Nova. I don't think I'm going to make it to Adepticon this year just because of wasn't able to get it together. But I am going to be going to some other ones, so I will let you guys know as I figure all of that out, and as I go. I'm going to go into smaller ones as well, which is going to be a lot of fun, and just getting some reps in and getting more of a tournament experience, which is going to be a great time, I think. So, let me know what your guys' experience is. I know a bunch of you guys were at LVO. I mean, I shook hands with a bunch of you. So let me know how did you guys have fun? What was your results? If you went to the, what events did you take part in? Were you just there to just see how things were and have fun at the open tables? That seemed like it was a great time. I heard a lot of people had a lot of fun with that. But let me know what your experience was at LVO. If you had a great time and what was your favorite part of the whole time. And if you didn't go, let me know if you guys are going to be going to any other tournaments or anything like that. Honestly, the thing I learned most about this was that most people were at this tournament to have fun. Like, they're trying to win. There's no doubt about that. They're trying to win. But there was a lot of people there that were just there to have fun. And I think everyone wanted to have fun. In every single game, win, lose, or draw, everyone wanted to have fun. And it just kind of goes to show, a lot of people talk about like being intimidated by it or not wanting to play cheesy lists. I played 2 games against Eldar with Dark Reaper spam, which is considered, a cheesy list, and they're tough. It's a tough list to play against, but I still had fun, because what it came down to, I'm not going to have fun based upon what my opponent's list is. That's not, to me, that doesn't make the game. My opponent's list doesn't make the game. What it makes the game is my opponent. And my opponents were good guys. They were fun guys, and I had a ton of fun playing games because of the opponents, and that's what it comes down to. And you need to not be intimidated by someone bringing a tough list. You need to not be intimidated by someone wanting to win. That's the reality of a tournament scene, but that's not what going to a tournament is about. Going to a tournament is about being there, especially something like LVO, where there's 500 something people, and the third day is only the top 8. At that point, it's 8 people out of 500 that are really competing for the final win. So that means that you've got 492 other people that did. Everyone ended up with at the same time, just playing the 6 games the first 2 days. So if you're going to be playing just as many games as almost every single other person, why not just go and have fun? Because they also pair you up with people of the same win ratio. So if you go with a list that's just going to get stomped that first round, then that's fine. You get stomped that first round. The next round, you're going to play someone else who got stomped that round. And again, if you get stomped by that round, you'll play someone in the third round that got stomped the first 2 rounds. So going down and forth, you start getting paired up against lists that are the equal to yours, that are equal to your play style, equal to your playlist, whatever it might be. You're not going to have the first round. You might end up paired against the guy who's eventually going to win, but you're not going to have that every single one of your games. And that's the beauty of it, is that you start getting paired off with people of equal playing ability, equal competitiveness, and it works out. It works out real well, and it's a ton of fun. It really is a ton of fun, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Just going to one of these things, you walk into this room and you're surrounded by hundreds of other people who are here to do exactly what you did. And I know from my own personal experience, being a super nerd, being someone like this that collects and paints and stuff, it can be a little bit isolating. You know what I mean? Being a super nerd, at least for me growing up, it was not the cool thing. And you could feel a little bit isolated, like you're the weirdo, you're the outlier, you're the loser loner. But you go to something like this and suddenly you're surrounded by 500 other people, all there to do the exact same thing as you, all feeling just as amped, just as excited, just as enthusiastic about this hobby that you are. And it's heartening to be around all of those people doing what you want to do. It feels great, and I didn't go there with any actual aspirations of winning the whole thing. I went there to have a good time, play a bunch of games, meet a bunch of people, and do as well as I possibly could, but still be there surrounded by other people that love what I love. And that's the best thing of like something like LVO, something like a Nova, something like any other GT, honestly, is the fact that you can go there, have a great time, and just be surrounded by people who are doing what you want to do. And that's why I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to go out there. I met a bunch of people there that said that this was their first tournament that they had gone to, let alone their first GT that they had gone to. And they still had a blast. They were still there to have fun. You know what I mean? As long as you know your rules and you're not going to be impeding on someone else having fun, do it. Go. And you don't have to have every single rule memorized. Know the basics of what's going on, but you have your book there. Look up if you have any question. And don't be afraid to look it up. Don't be afraid to look it up. Everyone wants you to look it up if you have to, because they want to make sure that you're getting it right. So go there, know your rules, but also, don't be intimidated if you're not a personal encyclopedia on it. I look up my rules all the time. So just understand that the reality is that the best thing you can get out of these kind of tournaments is just going there and the camaraderie and the kinship of having all those people together around you and just, really having a great time with all of your fellow nerds, all of your fellow wargamers. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. I certainly have. Keep the conversation going down below. Let me know about your con experience. Let me know about your tournament experience. If you're at the LVO or another GT, or if you're planning on going to a GT, or if you have any questions about what it's like to be at a GT, shoot them down below. I love having this conversation. I'm woefully behind on comments because of this weekend. Hopefully going to try to catch up on that, but I will do my best. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed it. I certainly have. I have been Phil the Glacial Geek as always. And until next time, have fun.